What's up, guys? Part-Time Gamer Dad here. Today I'm going to talk about my top 5 WrestleMania opening matches of all time. But before we get into the video, make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and make sure you let me know down below what your favorite opening match of any WrestleMania ever is. Are you excited for WrestleMania 40? What opening matches do you think we're going to have? I personally think we're going to have Drew versus Seth on night 2. And for night 1, let's go. Let's just go all out, man. Let's just do the 6-pack ladder match for the tag team titles. I would be all for that. So coming in at number 5, I'm going to do one that probably isn't on most people's list, but I was there, and it was a really fun opening match. And that was the Raw Tag Team title match between RK Bro, Alpha Academy, and the Street Profits at WrestleMania 38 Night 2. Like I said, I was there live with my dad. My dad had never been to a wrestling event, and so we flew out to my hometown of Arlington, Texas, in the DFW area, and we had a blast, man. But like watching that match with him was really fun because it was just all over the place. I mean, if you saw the match, it was just high pace, high action, 6 incredible workers between all those guys. Montez Ford is just a freak of athletic nature, and Randy Orton is Randy Orton. And so that match was just a lot of fun. It didn't have to be anything particularly over the top. It was just a really solid 3-way tag team match for the belts. And while there's other matches like an Eddie and Ray match that they did at 21, or like Money in the Bank ladder match at 23 that I also really, really love, I was there live for this match, and so for me, that's why it outranks those matches a little bit. So coming in at number 4 is another match I was there live for. I really like to go to the WrestleManias in my hometown where I grew up, just get to see friends that I haven't seen in a long time, and just kind of rekindle those friendships and get to just say hi to everybody. I've actually run into friends at WrestleManias back in my hometown, which is pretty fun. But at WrestleMania 32, they had that ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship where Neville got hurt before the match, and then Zack Ryder ended up winning the match, which was an awesome moment. Obviously, there's a lot of great things in that ladder match. My wife wasn't even like, and has never really been a big wrestling fan. She loves me, so she knows wrestling through me, but she actually really enjoyed that match. She cheered when Zack Ryder won. But obviously there was a lot of really cool, fun stuff in there. And then Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn trying to kill each other. The whole match was a really fun element of the show for their first WrestleMania. That is kind of like the fight forever piece, right? And now here we are 8 years later, and they're both like in mid-card title feuds still. So that was a really fun one for me, and really awesome to see like the Miz being all smug, like I'm gonna win, and then the dark horse of the whole thing, Zack Ryder, coming up and winning. What a great Mania moment for him. And for me at my first WrestleMania, like that to be the first match I saw live, I'll never forget it. So coming in at number 3, there's a lot of ways I could go with this because there's so many great matches throughout the course of WrestleManias. So looking at my number 3 spot, I'm going to do another multi-man match. I love these multi-man matches as openers, and that's Finn Balor versus The Miz versus Seth Rollins. Again, for the IC Championship. I love these opening multi-man title matches, and this one was an absolute classic. Probably for me, I know people talk about Asuka versus Charlotte at WrestleMania 34. People love that match. I don't particularly. I'm kind of salty still to this day that the streak ended at WrestleMania by Charlotte. But I really love this match. I think it's the match of WrestleMania 34. And of course, like, what a great ending sequence with Seth hitting the stomp. And I think if you want to talk about like a work rate match, like this is what I think of. Like it doesn't stop moving at any point. You have 3 solid workers. I don't care what you think about The Miz. The Miz is a solid worker in today's age and has been for the last 10 years. With The Miz, Finn Balor, who is just incredibly agile, incredibly athletic, and really fun to watch, regardless of what position he's in on the card. And then obviously Seth Rollins, who is one of the greatest of our generation today and has been for a long time. He's also been like a constant for the last decade. And I think that this, especially with like the return of the stomp during the whole time frame, was really, really fun to see. Like that get brought back, and I love that match. I thought that match was really well constructed, really well put together. And triple threat matches can do one of two things. They can either like really be broken up into like singles matches that don't involve all three participants really well, this match did a really good job of ensuring that all three participants were involved in the match all the way throughout, and I really appreciated that. So it gets my number 3 pick for the best WrestleMania openers of all time. So number 2, number 1, and if you ever watched my favorite WrestleMania matches of all time video, which if you haven't, go watch it right here. I talked about both of these matches. One of them was on my top 5. One of them was just outside my top 5. So number 2 is going to be Owen versus Brett at WrestleMania 10. WrestleMania 10 is one of the WrestleManias that just made it outside of my top 5 WrestleManias of all time too. It's a great show. And this is probably the primary reason, alongside Shawn and Razor in the ladder match for the IC title, this is the primary reason why it is held in such high regard, not just by me, but by so many people. This match is, like, if you want to watch a mat classic, like a true technician's dream of a match, it's this match. And it's two brothers, and there's a lot of, emotional build-up in the story leading up to this, kicking the leg out of his leg, and all of those moments. Owen being the only one eliminated on the Survivor Series team for the Hart family. And Brett kind of like overcoming all of these things to fight his brother, lose his brother, empowered the story to be even better at the end of the night when he finally redeemed himself at the end of WrestleMania, defeating Yokozuna for the WWF Championship after losing to him the year before. So this match, not just in the context of itself, but what it actually helped elevate later in the night, and the story that played out going all the way to SummerSlam later that year, the steel cage match they had against each other for the title that summer. I think that this match holds a lot of power in what it accomplished, both in real time, but also in perpetuity down the road in that same night, but then also just in the history of wrestling. This match is looked at as, by some people, the greatest opener of not just any WrestleMania, but any show ever. And for some people, it's their favorite match ever, and I respect that and I appreciate that. But for me, it gets number 2. So my number 1 favorite WrestleMania opener of all time is actually my 4th favorite WrestleMania match of all time. And that is the number 1 contender match, if you will, between Triple H and Daniel Bryan, with the winner going on to wrestle Batista and Randy Orton in the main event of WrestleMania 30 to see who would be the World Heavyweight Champion at the end of the night, or the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. This match, to me, I think the story building up to it is probably what helped put it above Owen and Brett a little bit, because I got to watch it in real time. I think that's something you got to remember about wrestling, right? Some of the people who put Owen versus Brett over this maybe lived that experience and feud leading up to it. Or maybe, I'm not trying to be mean about this, but like Brett and Owen are like Canadian gods, right? And for me, I'm not Canadian, so I don't hold them in the same regard as a lot of Canadians do. And so I look at like the story between Daniel Bryan and Triple H. And I was really engaged in that because I grew up watching Triple H. And I've watched Daniel Bryan his whole career. And I had a vested interest in that story. And so for me, there was euphoric sense about what occurred throughout the course of that match that made me more invested in it. And as a result, I have a deeper tie to that match. Not just in that moment, but like now a decade later, it's still one of my favorite matches of all time. It's in my top 5 favorite WrestleMania matches of all time. Shoot, it's probably in my top 20, 25 matches, period, ever. Whereas Owen and Brett might make my top 50. So this match does a lot of really good things about, again, similar to Owen versus Brett, setting a really good pace and story within itself as a singular match, but then also impacting what happened in the main event and then beyond. Now, obviously, that story could have continued well beyond, but then Daniel Bryan got hurt and came back, and thank God he's still wrestling today because he's one of the best to ever do it. But in that moment, what he was able to accomplish by putting Triple H down and then going to the main event, especially in the shape that he was in, was awesome. And they worked so well together. And not to even mention like Triple H's entrance, even though he was the bad guy, like that entrance is epic. It's a top 10 entrance of all time, not just WrestleMania, but just period. And technically speaking, like it was a really solid match because it's Daniel Bryan, and Triple H was no slouch back when he was, no pun intended, on top of his game. So that match for me, number 1 WrestleMania opener of all time, top 4 WrestleMania matches, period. And I think if you have Brett versus Owen in number 1, I can understand it. I can respect it. For me, though, it's going to be Triple H versus Daniel Bryan. All right, guys, like I said, let me know down in the comments below. Who would you put in that #1 slot? What match would you put as a WrestleMania opener to be the best of all time? So let me know in the comments below. Like I said, make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe. We are so close to 2,000 subscribers. Hopefully we get there before WrestleMania night 1. Hey, y'all, part-time gamer dad in the future. We actually already hit 2,000, so thank you, guys. I love you. Thank you. I can't communicate how much I appreciate it. Just, you're the best. Thanks. And as always, guys, thank you so much. I'll see you very soon.